It's lit. We back.
Demic, what's good, Joe?
Wagwan. You know. Yeah, same.
It's been a minute, man. You know, we I think our history goes. Let's talk about the very beginning of our history, right?
Right.
We met in college.
Right.
And I was managing the artist at that time. I think you went to high school with him, right?
Yeah, we was making music like from the start, like me and Cash, yeah.
Yeah. And me and you were the business mind on your end.
Mm-hmm.
I was the business mind with me and my crew.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then Cash was kind of like that piece in the middle that had that overlap.
Yeah, because we was making things. He was like, he had signed to your label, and I still remember this. I remember like not really having no concept of nothing, and I remember I asked you, I was like, you got a label? Remember? You probably remember that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I was like, you got a label? And you was like, yeah, and I was like, how you do that? And he was like, I just started it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you was like ahead of us from the beginning. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I was a little bit older too, you know.
Yeah.
But we weren't exactly friends, I would say. We were just like associates, right?
Yeah, because you had got the plug on the Timbs early, and me and Naran was like, we're Timbs for 70 or 75 or 80 or whatever. Yeah. And you was running down to Flemington, and then getting them and coming back. Yeah. And then I
left the receipt in the bag.
Yeah, Naran seen it. I mean, but I'm crazy though, because I remember like you couldn't get my size. So they came, I'm like size 9 or something, and you came back with like 10 and a half, and I was still rocking them. I was like, I paid for these, I'm gonna rock them. Yeah. But Naran was mad, he was like, yeah.
Yeah, so we weren't exactly seeing eye to eye. And
I hit like that's how it started.
Yeah, and then I think there was some fear that I was on some Diddy type thing with the artists.
You was Diddy. I remember on MySpace you had the Diddy pic with the shades. Yeah. And like a suit, you was suiting up when nobody else was suiting up. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. And then I had a low part in my life. Cass had got incarcerated.
Yeah, I remember
so I was out of the music, and I was in the mortgage business, and that tanked. Mm-hmm. And I was just kind of like sitting around, just hustling, trying to make ends meet. And you hit me up. You said, "Yo, I'm about to go to Florida to shoot this music video."
Right, yeah.
You want to come? I'm like, I ain't got no bread. You like, don't worry about it. We just gonna go da da da. I was like, how we getting? He's like, we gonna drive.
Yeah, we gonna drive.
Like, we gonna drive to Florida.
Yeah.
I ain't got nothing else really to do. Yeah. So we went down, and on the way there, we got a chance to really like. That's the first time we really had a chance to get to know each other.
Right.
And then on the way back, he was like, yo, you want to form a group? I was
like,
rap, me and you? Like, yeah. So then that was the whole Demic in Boston saga.
Right.
And taking flights to Miami with $100 in my pocket, breaking down in Charlotte. Mm-hmm. We're going to bring ST back, and we're going to do that whole Demic in Boston ST saga, urban background saga. So I don't want to take up too much time on that. But so since the Demic in Boston saga, we really haven't connected.
Yeah, it's been like cause we both was like kind of like it's funny because sometimes I feel like we swap places. You know what I'm saying? Cause before like I said, everybody thought you was the flashy Diddy. Like I'm throwing parties, I'm doing this, doing that, and I was more on some like the system, the this and that. Like I mean this and that, and like now you talk more about the system, the politics. And things like of that nature, you know what I'm saying? So sometimes I'll be, and then I had the locks, and you had the low cut, and then that was just like,
I got the locks, you got the low cut, and you got the gold on with the Gucci and all that.
Right. Yeah. So sometimes I'll be thinking like that. It's like a whole total flip. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's funny how life does that, man. Totally flipped around. So, I'm just glad that we stayed friends all these years. I think you've been probably the most important friend I've had, and I say that honestly from my heart, because sometimes you hang around friends, like we were just talking on the balcony, your beautiful apartment here, but we were just talking about how like sometimes you get around your friends and they want to talk about girls and they want to talk about other people and complain.
Yeah, gossip.
Mm-hmm. And we outside talking, trading stock options. And, starting up businesses, right? And
it's always been like that. Like I remember before you used to talk to me about explaining to me how short sales work in the real estate market when you had the the one dude, I forgot his
Dave.
name. Dave. I don't remember his name,
Dave
but
the
he was a white dude.
Dominator.
Yeah. And at the time, I remember like, I feel like at the time we used to look at him like, yo, he's doing it like crazy. You know what I mean? And I feel like we both got to the point where it's like, okay, like that. You know what I mean? Like we've had those highs and those lows and everything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But we've always, every time we got together, it's always been a constructive discussion.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I love most. It wasn't like, and another thing I love about our friendship is I could go 3 months and not speak to you, and there's no love lost. Right. Like, cause I know you working, I'm working, you got a kid, I got kids. We busy, we hustling, but as soon as we talk on the phone, it's just like back when we was on tour. Like,
Yeah.
You know, so I love that you're that genuine type person. You ain't dealing with emotions like, I ain't here from this dude. You call me, check up on me.
I learned one of the most important lessons on how to. This is a little like off, but I learned one of the most important lessons on how to deal with like the co-parenting situation from you. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like no, on some real like just watching it and just because I had a kid like later after you, so I was like, but there's a couple of lessons that you told me specifically that have helped me make sure that my situation never go too far off. So I just wanted to say that before.
I remember I was at the mortgage gig. Dave was my manager at that time, and I got a phone call from you. And this was at a time when me and you weren't even like that cool, right? And you said, "Yo, I got her pregnant." I said, "Are you about to have a kid?" I'm like, "Yes." I started celebrating because I was like the only one out of our friends with a kid, right?
Yeah.
And you were like, "Yo, what do I do?" And I'm like, "Don't worry about it. It's not the end of the world." We had I don't remember the specifics of the conversation, but I remember you having some concern.
Yeah, because you never know.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You just never know how it's going to go.
Yeah. So I'm glad at least I had a little bit of a positive.
Yeah. Nah, definitely. Like you was just always telling me. Basically, it was more of a because you mentioned the non-emotion, like not too much heights and ups and downs, but it was just like don't be too emotional when you make a decision. Like if you guys are not seeing eye to eye, so you was just always like, don't be if they're being like that, don't match it. And I basically always held that in my head in order like how I deal with everything now. You know what I'm saying when it comes to my daughter, her mom, everything like that. Yeah,
I talk about that in my book. You know, a woman might have a certain energy that she brings sort of negativity, and you don't have to feed into that. Right. It's very important not to match that energy. But there's a life lesson that you gave me that consistently goes through my mind, and you called it cliffhanger. Remember that?
Yeah. The cliffhanger. I don't remember like the specifics. I know I was doing a mixtape called The Cliffhanger because I felt like I was cliffhanging. Like basically, like I was saying, like I was never saving bread. I was always putting myself out there in a way that either I sink or swim. You know what I mean? And it is what it is. You know what I mean? But I don't remember like the whole specifics of it because it was a while ago when I was working on that thought, that idea.
And that always stuck with me. You know, it's like you got to take risks, you got to take chances, and we got to climb this mountain. Either you get to the top of the mountain, or you fall and you die. Right? But if you ain't ready to die, you ain't ready to live.
Right.
And I just love that because, like I said, it was like Miami, right? And I had $100 literally in my bank account. It was just like, and y'all was leaving, I think 2 days before me. Right. And we ended up meeting some investor dude with a casino when he paid for the rest of my stay.
I remember.
High rise and all
they were from they were like Native Americans. Right.
Yeah.
I forgot all about them.
Yeah.
But things happen when you do things.
Right.
It always works out.
That's the thing. We had to do that. We had to take those chances and those risks. Otherwise, you wouldn't have the opportunities that come along with that.
Right. Exactly.
You know? Going to, I think it was the Charlotte show, right? And I told my job, like, yo, I need time off. And he wouldn't give it to me. He said, if we don't give it to you, you're going to be fired. I'm like, well, I'm just going to have to be fired then, right? And that's that cliffhanger mentality, knowing like my girl going to bitch at me. You know, I got kids, I got to make money, but I was still willing to.
Because at the end of the day, like, I think we were just talking about this, like you know that there's a bigger play out there. And I think that same show in North Carolina, like I was starting a job like that Monday. We did the show on Saturday.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson had just died.
Right.